Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of Stay Tuned, where we do the research and check the movies coming out so you don't have to. Here we are in April, and we got quite a few movies and a few TV shows to swing your way. With that being said, I am your host for this episode, Jose.
I am not your host, George.
Let's start off. That first Friday is going to be April 5th. And in the theaters, we have Monkey Man coming out. This is directed by Dev Patel and starring Dev Patel
And written by Dev
and
Patel.
written by Dev Patel. Yeah, basically from what I read, he's trained in martial arts. So he's been trying to get into like action movies, hasn't had much success. So he was like, I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna write my own, act my own.
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes you just got to take things into your own hands. Basically, the storyline of this, you have a young man who unleashes a campaign of vengeance against a corrupt leaders who, took out his mother and continue to victimize the poor and powerless. So very, simple storyline that we've seen before. Story of vengeance. Watching this trailer, what were your thoughts, George?
I saw pretty much like Indian John Wick, but like in all the best ways. Like, it sounds messed up to like, oh, okay, it's a John Wick clone. It's like, no, it inspired by John Wick while still being its own thing for sure. Like, I get the sense of like that India feel, like the setting is present in this whole thing. And I really love that, like having that culture being very represented. And you always hear like how dark, dangerous, and dirty it can be, especially if you watch Slumdog Millionaire. Also, Dev Patel. It was a great view into like what that lifestyle looks like, because not everyone's living the glitz and glamour of the Bollywood lifestyle. Some people are struggling. And so we get to see that struggle and see him kind of climb through torture tower per se, trying to get revenge on this guy. And I loved every bit of it, man. The action looks intense and gritty. Good cut scene. Like the scenes aren't being cut in a way where it's like feels choppy or generic. Like you can see he's actually putting attention to detail in these fight scenes and trying to create his own voice in that world, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's the first thing that popped in my head. It was John Wick's style. Not carbon copy, just the style of it, which a lot of movies are starting to adapt because besides the fights themselves, it's very visually appealing, style, especially for action
Yeah.
movies. But yeah, this was originally slated for streaming, and then Jordan Peele saw it and he was like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. This belongs in the theater. So he's one of the producers on this, and they're bringing it to the theater, which, from what I can see, it looks like it's the right decision. It looks really good, and I'm excited for it. Patel literally put his blood, sweat, tears, and
Yeah.
bones into this. As I mentioned, he's actually trained in martial arts and he sustained multiple injuries while filming this. I think he broke toes, ribs, had concussions. I forgot what he broke something else too. So he literally put his everything into this movie. And for that, I'm definitely pumped to go and support him and see this movie, and I really hope it's good and I hope it does well. I really think this is going to be a good one and one of the highlights of the year personally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As for us too, we're big fans of movies like The Raid, so we like hard hitting movies, and I feel like you see that just in this trailer alone. Like when you watch the Red Band trailer, the hits look good. Like the camera's up close, and they look like they hurt so much, especially that kitchen scene. I was like, tell me
Yeah.
someone didn't leave bloody that day.
Yeah. With that being said, let's stick to the same weekend, but let's move over to TV shows. So we got two TV shows that are coming out that same weekend. First, we had Sugar coming to Apple TV. Um, the story seems a little bit darker than the way I portrayed that title.
Yeah. Uh,
But it's hard to like see Sugar and not like make it sound lively.
I'm
Sugar.
with you. When I saw the thing for that, I just thought of like Celia Cruz. I was like, Azurka. And I was like, oh, this isn't that sweet. Okay, bad things are about to
No,
happen.
no. When I read the description, I'm like, all right. Well, this Apple TV, as I mentioned, starts Colin Farrell. The story of it is private detective investigates the disappearance of some Hollywood producer's granddaughter. And of course, like any major like mystery investigation, as he investigates, he starts uncovering some family secrets that should not be uncovered. And of course, That's when the danger happens, when you start looking, under the wrong seat cushions and finding things. What were your thoughts on this one when you saw the trailer?
It looks like a nice modern noir kind of story, which I'm all for those kind of things. I like the old school, detective trying to uncover the case and of course getting in too deep and stuff. And there's always that person who's just like, stop looking. You stop. And it's just like, maybe you should listen, man. Like, I don't know if you're gonna make it through this. Like, this is just a job. Like, maybe it's not worth it. You're not connected to this family, but like there's something drives them forward, to solve this because they're the guy, they're the hero. Colin Farrell's freaking amazing. I love watching whatever he does. I feel like he's so immersive in whatever role he takes on. So like that kind of already had me sold, but that paired with the noir aspect, and there seems to be from the trailer like something is wrong with him also. I don't know if it's an illness or some kind of PTSD thing, but like something is going to hinder his investigation. So I'm kind of curious to find out what that is exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's. You can't have a good detective story if there isn't something wrong with the detective, either
Right?
physically
Yeah,
or
yeah.
psychologically. There's always some kind of damage to keep it interesting when we're spending time with this detective. This looks good. This looks interesting. Apple has put out some quality shows, so it has that going for it. And
Yeah.
then Colin Farrell, I feel, does not get enough credit for his acting. He puts out some good performances out there, and it's a lot of movies I know that he's done that a lot of people haven't watched. At least the general audience hasn't watched. That
Yeah.
really shows off his skills. So we do recommend if you see Colin Farrell in in something, give it a go because he's not going to cheat you with his performance. With these type of movies, I do. It's funny that you mentioned that. I like to play a little drinking game called "How Many Times Were They Warned." Um, you can get a nice buzz in these type of shows or movies just drinking every time they're warned.
I mean, just from the trailer alone, how many times does he get warned?
From crime like mystery investigation, we go to another show that's a little bit different. This one's coming to Netflix on that same weekend, and that is Parasite the Gray. This stars Jeon Si-ni and Lee Young Hyan. Again, probably butchered those names, but we're gonna go with it. Uh, so this is adapted from a manga, not one
Yeah.
that I have read because my number of manga reads are at zero at this
Zero.
point in time. This is in a world where you pretty much you have these like parasitic creatures that kind of take over humans and take over control, and they're not very friendly.
No.
And they are murdering people. And I'm guessing in a blight to take over the world, most likely. That's usually what the case is. What did you think watching this trailer?
I actually watched the anime for this
Oh,
on
okay.
Netflix. Yeah, and so that's how I was very familiar with this. And the anime is really good. Great body horror if you're into that kind of stuff. I will say with the anime though, there's a cuteness to the parasite that is attached to the main protagonist that's almost kind of silly and goofy because it's an anime. Like manga anime can have a tendency to do that with something that can be very dark and serious. They'll add that
Mhm.
little cuteness to break up the monotony of that kind of stuff. I'm very curious to see how they handle that in a live action because it's just so morbid. I can't see a cute little hand because it's always in the hand usually when it talks. Like I don't see the cute hand popping up with the cute googly eyes. I imagine just being really creepy and like weird and eerie. Me and you have talked about this off air. I'm always disappointed with live action adaptations of animes and mangas. So I'm always like super fingers crossed that this could be the one that gets me. But the trailer looked good. The trailer looked interesting. It definitely doesn't seem like it's following the manga or the anime to 100%. It definitely feels just inspired by the events of what happens. They got a lot of leeway of what they can do with this.
I've been over the last couple of years, just I've watched quite my fair share of Korean content,
Yeah.
and it hits more than it misses for me personally. So it already has that going for it on my end. Would it be on Netflix? I probably will give it a try. I gotta say though, watching the trailer, it felt like Resident Evil 4 and 5 when you start getting like the
Yeah,
parasite strand.
yeah.
Especially visually, I was just like, it's the Ouroboros, it's the
Yeah, yeah.
Ouroboros virus. So it looked exactly like that. But yeah, I'm definitely willing to give it a try. I'm going in blank.
Yeah.
No manga, no anime, just for the show itself. So I'll probably have a different perspective than someone like you who's actually watched the content before.
Yeah, I will say if you're a fan of the idea of like things like Venom, where there's that symbiote and the person and their kind of battle of taking who gets control of the body, there's a lot of that within this because the entity does have its own mind, its own voice, but the person does have some control over what's happening, but to an extent. And so there's going to be that battle between them, at least for the protagonist. For the other ones, not so much. A lot of times, like the antagonist symbiotes, which is what I'm just going to call them as opposed to parasites, they're in full control of those humans. So those humans are kind of lost in this battle. So there's really just like this, almost like this chosen one who gets to like be copacetic with their thing as they host this parasite. And there's a lot of weird things that they'll do with their bodies. I think this thing was just like the tip of the iceberg of how extreme and cool this can really get with like the appendages just going all crazy.
Sticking on TV shows, that next week on the 12th, we have Fallout coming out to
Yeah.
Prime. This is heavily anticipated by a lot of people, especially by George and Marie, who are fans. So this stars Ella Purnell, Walton Goggins, Michael Emerson. It's based off of the video game. If anyone's ever seen the Fallout video games, they got quite a few. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic America where some bombs went off. People went into vaults, into hiding. George, you can probably give a better description of kind of the general story of Fallout. I've actually never played the Fallout games. All I did was the phone one where you just
Oh,
control the
yeah,
vault.
yeah,
That's the only one that I've really fully played.
yeah. I dabbled with like 3, 4 New Vegas and unfortunately 76. Uh that was a horrible one. But in any case, you nailed pretty much the basis. It has a very much 1950s feel to it. And like you said, there's an apocalypse, pretty much like people drop their bombs, and now this is the world we're living. The world is now a toxic place, but some humans had survived, and so some of them are a little weird. Some of the animals have evolved, and now you have this. I was going to say Vault Hunter. It's not Borderlands. You have this person, this from the Vault Dwellers, and like they're coming out, and one is about to experience what the world looks like now. And for anyone who's been in the Vault, it's a scary thing. It's like they don't know if the world is even livable at this point. So there's a bunch of things to explore, just like in any kind of movie like this or show. There's going to be new things that we're not used to or things that we're familiar with that are now elevated, like freaking zombie creature bears and dogs and stuff. And then you have these people who are a whole like I want to say mech army, but they got like Iron Man suits, we'll say, and
Mhm.
they're trying to cleanse the world, kind of, but in a very tyrannical way.
That's always a positive thing.
Yeah. You know, I think there's gonna be some cool stuff already, knowing that it's being created by the same people behind Westworld. I mean, Jonathan Nolan, as far as I'm concerned, if you have the name Nolan attached to something, whether it's Jonathan and Christopher, you're kind of guaranteed something really good. Yeah. So I was convinced from that alone, and then seeing Walter Goggins in it, that guy is honestly just like how we talk about Sam Rockwell isn't respected enough and doesn't get enough recognition. Same thing for this guy. This guy does not
Mhm.
get enough praise in what he brings to any project he's in, whether it's comedy, serious, or whatever. Like the dude's got it, and I'm super excited just to see him as one of the ghouls. I think he's gonna be freaking super entertaining.
I wonder if he's going to bring the Bible bumpers.
Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers.
Bible bonkers.
Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers.
Baby Billy
Baby Billy
Bible
Bible
bonkers.
Bible
Bunker babies. Baby
Bible
Billy Bible
bonkers.
bonkers.
Yeah.
Billy Bible bumpers.
Yeah, Billy Bible bumpers. No, it's true. Like he is great. Like I said, I don't have the experience with the game. I did that mobile version. I think I started. It might have been Fallout 4. I played at the beginning of it. The gameplay wasn't really my cup of tea, so like I didn't continue it. But I always wanted to know more about the story. The story had me intrigued. It was
Yeah.
the gameplay that was kind of like, I don't know. So I'm curious. And then there's this whole basically person who most likely was born and raised inside the vault first time out in the world discovering, and it's not the same world that was before, not the same world that they were taught within the Vold.
Yeah.
And it's just the very definition of you're about to find out. And this pretty much going to happen. So I am curious. The trailer, it seems like they nailed the aesthetic, at least from the images that
Oh
I
yeah.
have seen from the games, watching other people play and things like that. So it seems like they nailed the feel and the aesthetic. So I am looking forward to it. I'm always down for a good post-apocalyptic story. So I'll be watching this when it comes out. And for the sake of my NAS people here, you and Marie, I really hope it gets nailed, and I hope it's really
Especially
good.
for Marie. Of all of us, Marie's the
Yes,
one.
we need it for Marie. We need this to
Yeah.
be good. Come on, and Amazon Prime needs this, especially
Right.
their other like major budget show, the Lord of the Rings. It was a major failure in the eyes of many.
Yeah. I will say from because there's been talk online already of like the woke side of this thing. We've talked about it ourselves. I don't feel that when I watched the trailer for this movie or this show. I felt it for Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. I totally felt it from the trailer alone, and it oozed over that whole show. I don't see that in this. Like it seems like they're actually going to tell a good story, from what I'm getting at least. I feel positive right now, and maybe it's because again, Jonathan Nolan knows how to tell a good story. They're really good about thinking about their writing and making sure that these characters have growth and they're going through things that are going to challenge them. So fingers
Pretty
crossed.
much pretty much everything is called woke these days, so it's like completely lost its meaning to me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's not even selective at any way. If something comes out, it gets called woke. That's like automatic these days. Does it have a woman? Woke.
yeah,
Does it
yeah.
have anyone of diversity?
Right.
Woke.
It's like, oh, black
So
guys in the armor. God damn it.
yeah, so it's lost all meaning because it just gets scatter shot everywhere, no matter where it goes in. There are some woke things out there, but it's like the boy who cried wolf. You start
Yeah,
labeling everything
yeah,
woke, and people are just gonna stop paying attention because you're just losing its meaning. Now, moving over to the movie side of things, we have two movies coming out that weekend, two very different movies. So the
yeah.
first one, let's start with Civil War. This is directed by Alex Garland, who did one of my favorite sci-fi movies, Ex Machina. He also did this sci-fi TV show that I really enjoyed that unfortunately did not get another season, called Devs. And that
Oh,
was a pretty good sci-fi show. It stars Kristen Dunst, Jesse Plemons, Nick Offerman. It's got a pretty good cast. It follows this military journalist that's traveling across this dystopian like America that's the middle of a civil war. I think California and Texas have joined together in a civil war against like the rest of the country,
yeah,
and that's kind of the general concept. We're following this journalist going across while this is happening all around. So, like the first sign that this might be a hit for me was Jesse Plemons is in it, and if he's in it, it's a high probability that it's going to be a hit. For some
yeah,
reason,
yeah,
he knows how to pick his scripts, and it's not just picking the scripts. He also does his part because he's a great actor. That's one. The sign that it's probably going to be a quality movie is that it's A24. And I know we talk into everyone's ears bleed about A24, but how can we not?
right.
A24 has gained my full trust, and until they let me down multiple times, I will watch whatever they come out with. That's at the point that they are with me personally.
Even their worst
And
movie isn't that bad.
yeah, it's kind of like Christopher Nolan. You know, his bad movies are still good movies for everyone else.
Yeah,
So A24 is at that level with me. And this looks like it's going to be a good thriller. It also appears like to be, larger than the normal scale that A24 does,
okay.
which, we spoke on the previous episode on how A24 they plan to kind of increase in their scale, maybe going a little bit bigger to bring more finances in so they continue to do the quality movies that we do. So this might be that good median where they're still kind of they're not going super high on the like the blockbuster, but increasing their scale while still keeping that general A24 like quality story. So I am pumped for this one. What about you? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on it?
yeah, I definitely feel like they're hitting like that mid-level, that mid-budget kind of thing, which we haven't really got. In the 90s and the 80s, like we had a bunch of mid-budget movies that were great, you know, they didn't have to be blockbusters, but they're entertaining and we remember them. I feel like this is gonna be in that area. And it's so perfect for this time period. Like we were just talking about the woke stuff. It's like I guarantee they're gonna talk about that kind of stuff in this movie. It's gonna feel so relevant to what's happening right now. And my only concern, and I think from the trailer, it seems like it's going to be okay. I don't want them picking a side. I'm hoping that they depict both sides as having their evils. You know, so it's just like no matter what state that this reporter ends up in, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to suck because they're always going to be like, well, you're the bad guy. Well, no, no, you're the bad guy. You know,
Hmm.
like that scene in the trailer when you see Jesse Plemons, it's like, what kind of American are you? And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh man, how are you going to answer that? You're like, the same as you, the kind that likes guns,
Are you red, white, or blue?
right?
You can't be red, white, and blue.
Yeah. But I think
So
that's the
yeah,
only thing I'm worried about. I think it's gonna be freaking. It looks good. It looks really good, and I hope that no one wins at the end. I just want it to be total disaster for everybody.
yeah, I hope that aspect, that political aspect, is it's just the problem that's in that world, but it's not the focus of the story that makes sense. Like it should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
about the struggles of that journalist and whoever he's with making it through in that world that's been created by that, political conflict that's in there, but without fully focusing, like you said, on one side or the other and which side wins. It should just be their journey, their plight through it.
yeah. So it's just that being a reporter, it's like not taking sides, just reporting on the events as a factual thing. Especially that they had their kid with them. It's like so they through that whole thing, they're trying to survive, protect themselves, protect their kid, and raise their kid through this whole adventure. How's that gonna take its toll on that person? You know, what's that kid gonna come through with all this? Like, how are they gonna be?
Coming out that same weekend, we have a movie called Stink. This is directed by Kia Roach Turner. I don't think there's anything that I've seen from her
Yeah.
from when I looked. It stars Alila Brown, Ryan Core, and Penelope Mitchell. The concept of this is you have this 12-year-old girl who finds this tiny little spider in a rundown building and puts it in the jar. It's her new pet. She raises it, but the spider begins to grow at a monstrous rate and begins to desire more than just regular spider food. It becomes pretty bloodthirsty. And now this girl must try to protect her family from her pet that is trying to eat everything around her family and neighbors. What were your thoughts on this one?
Oh, this just looked like a good like campy spider flick. I'm like, I don't know what is with spider films where like they're always like this. I don't know if you noticed that, like Eight-Legged Freaks, Arachnophobia. There's never like a serious spider film that it can make it creepy and scary. Everyone hates spiders. Well, mostly everyone. I love them. But most people are just like, ugh, and it
Yeah.
just looks like a goofy, fun time because it's because of the child aspect and it being her pet. Something about it just seemed fun, you know. And the deaths probably are going to be like goofy.
That is true. First of all, I found it ironic that the girl's name is Charlotte in the movie
Oh yeah, they
about
knew what they were doing.
yeah, a movie about a extraordinary spider.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, it looks like it has this parts where it can be like creepy, like it has this moments there where they have the potential to be creepy. I see it as worth the try. I probably won't be in the theater for me,
no,
but once
definitely.
it comes out on streaming, I'll definitely give it a try. We don't get a lot. We don't get many giant creature movies like these days.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's not like it's something that we're oversaturated in. So when one comes out, it's worth checking out. If there's one thing that might kind of doom this movie, or at least like bring it down, it would probably be the visuals, especially when you start getting into a giant spider aspect. It appears that they might be using some practical effects in it, which is good. But if they also start mixing in too much CGI when it comes to these spiders, and if it's not down the right way, it can come out as comical when it's not supposed to. And we've seen this with other movies,
Yeah,
is, when you are revealing the creature, the monster, whatever it is, and you're revealing it too much and you're using CGI, it completely pulls someone out of the movie. So I do hope that they do more practical than CGI, because that might be what brings this movie down.
for sure. Yeah, and if they utilize their shadows enough, it could still be done well, honestly.
Treat it like Alien, but with like the spider, like the
Yeah,
first Alien.
exactly.
We barely saw. Next Friday after that, we have The Ministry of Ungenderly Warfare coming out on the 19th to theaters. This is directed by Guy Ritchie, who's done The Gentleman, both the movie and the TV show, Snatch, Wrath of Man. He's done a lot of good movies. It's got a pretty good cast, all-star cast with Henry Cavill, Alan Richardson, yeah, Isaac Gonzalez. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so the concept is you have the top secret combat unit that uses unconventional techniques to battle Nazis during World War II. This looks like it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a fun one.
Oh yeah.
You know, never mind the fact that it's always fun seeing Nazis taken out. Ever since the
Right?
Indiana Jones days,
Yeah.
it's always enjoyable to go out there and punch a Nazi and then escalate it from there. So that's already a plus. I'm also a fan of Guy Ritchie's style of movies and the humor that comes with it. I enjoy a lot of the banter that comes within his movies.
Yeah.
It also looks like this is going to be a more unhinged role for Henry Cavill, and
Yeah.
and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Watching that trailer, I'm like, okay. So I'm definitely gonna check this out when it comes to the theater. And if you are a Guy Ritchie fan, I recommend that you do. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Guy Ritchie's he's proven himself with small things and big things like the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. Like they're big in their cast, but they're small when you think about like everything that's in it. But then he's taken on things like Sherlock Holmes and stuff, and like he's shown he could take on bigger, bombastic things. And this is definitely within that wheelhouse. I'm always down for Henry Cavill. I'm always down for Guy Ritchie. I'm glad to see Alan Rickson, right?
Rich, yeah,
Like
Richardson.
the fact that he's popping up more after doing Reacher and stuff, like we've loved this guy since Blue Mountain State. It's like we need to see more of this guy. And I've been seeing behind the scenes stuff for this movie with like him and Cavill, and it looks like they have like this little bro relationship going on that I think is gonna show on screen so much, just like with them taking out Nazis on the boats and everything. It kind of makes me feel like Inglorious Bastards again,
Yes,
like
that's
that
what
kind
I
of
was
feel.
thinking of. Yes.
So it's like, yeah, give me a whole bunch of that, And it's just like if he's gonna be dirty about it and be crazy, like he kind of gave me almost Jason Momoa vibes when he was in Justice
Yeah.
League, and the whole like
Yeah.
and it's just like if that some of that rubbed off on you, hey, that's cool. All right, let's go, bro.
And he did it like multiple times in the
Yeah,
trailer. Every time he was shooting, and he was like Michael Jordan with shots.
right,
Just every time he was shooting,
right. Maybe that'll be the drinking game for that one.
and you are right. It is good to see Alan here. I feel like it's a good kind of comeback story. Because I know I saw this interview from him where he had gone through some personal things.
Yeah,
I just saw him recently in Reacher, and that show is great. He
yeah.
kills it in that show. So I do recommend, if you haven't seen Reacher, give it a try. It's got 2 seasons out on Amazon Prime. That same weekend, we have, switching back to horror, we have Abigail coming to theaters. This is directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin. He's did the Ready or Not movie a few years ago. He did the last two Screams, Scream 6 and Scream 5, I believe the last two. It stars the late Angus Cloud, Kevin Durand, Melissa Barrera, Alicia Weir. So it's got actually a nice little decent ensemble cast as part of it. And the storyline is you have a group of, would-be criminals. They kidnap the daughter of this powerful underworld figure for ransom. And I mean, seems pretty simple, except for the fact that this girl is a vampire. And if there's anyone you probably don't want to kidnap and be locked in the house with, it's a vampire. So what was your thoughts watching this trailer?
When I first saw this trailer, which was like I think a few months back, and they're all at that mansion. They drop the girl off, and Giancarlo Esposito is the person who's like telling them, like, "All right, you guys just gotta last 24 hours." It's like, "Oh, you guys are screwed." Like, you don't know he's the bad guy. You thought you were the bad guys. He's the bad guy, which means if he's leaving you there, like, this isn't good. This is. And then when the
They
girl
say,
became a vampire, I was like, there you go.
yeah, when they say last 24 hours, that should be your
Yeah,
red flag.
yeah, it's like, oh man, it's not gonna be good for you guys, man. Because when I didn't even know what this was about at first. When I saw the trailer, I saw a ballerina, a little girl. It's like, all right, what is this? I thought it was a part of John Wick. That's what I kind of thought at first. Like, is this
Mm.
John Wick kind of stuff? And it's like, oh no, no, this is not that. Okay. And then knowing that was the director of Ready or Not, it's like, okay, we're gonna have some funny moments in this movie because I think he really handles funny with the horror thriller aspect pretty well. I liked Ready or Not quite a bit. I thought it was a very good movie. And then seeing a trailer for this, like I think there's going to be a lot of hijinks of them just trying to survive a little girl vampire. Probably because she's going to beat them up a bit. I don't think she's
Oh
just
yeah.
going to kill them. She is going to toy with them for a bit. I think there's going to be a lot of fun in that. And it kind of brings me back to like older movies. Like we had more fun movies like this back in the day where it was kind of goofy horror. And it just seems kind of cool.
No, I agree with that. It's actually the kind of what I had on my notes, where it was just like, if this is similar in style to Ready or Not, which it looks like, then I'm fully on board. I really enjoyed Ready or Not. I've seen it multiple times and it stays entertaining through multiple viewings.
Yeah.
So if this can adapt that horror comedy style that come with it, I feel like it's got high potential and it's got a good ensemble cast that I feel might be able to play well off of each other. The concept is simple, but that simple can be effective for this type of movie.
Yeah.
This is the type of movie that you don't want to overconvolute, and make it too many twists and too complicated because then you're gonna start losing people. Keep the concept simple and then just let the action and the acting and the comedic moments just shine throughout. So I feel that that's a good idea, just keeping it that simple, one location, let chaos ensue.
Yeah, and I definitely like. I don't think we mentioned his name, but like Dan Stevens is in it, and I loved him in Legion. I think he has a really good grasp on like serious stuff with comedy, like switching back and forth with ease. He's really good at that, so I think he's going to add a good amount of levity to this movie too.
I agree. I agree. Coming out that same weekend over on the Netflix side of things, we have Rebel Moon, the Ew. This is Zack Snyder. It stars as pretty much the same people from the first one. You have Sophia Botella, Charlie Hunnam, Ray Fisher, Anthony Hopkins. You've got a bunch of people in there.
Yeah,
The cast is good. So this one is a continuation of the story started in Rebel Moon Part One, hence the Part One, Part Two.
yeah,
Uh, the first one had a lot of potential, but it suffered from shoddy writing and bad pacing throughout. Even the strength of Zack Snyder is his visuals, and while there were some cool visuals in the first one, there was also some parts that did not look as great or like what you normally get for Zack Snyder, which is his calling card. So I hope two is better than part one, but the first one doesn't give me a lot of confidence in this one. I really wanted to be good because the concept and the potential of the story is there. You just you've got all the ingredients. Just cook the meal the right way.
he didn't follow the instructions.
No, no, you added way too much salt to this. Uh, what was your thoughts on this one?
I haven't actually watched part one yet. Still, I've been kind of holding off on it. I think my thing is he, he, like you said, he's great with visuals. He hasn't 100% proven himself in telling a good story though. And I think back to Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch was his baby. Like he created that whole thing. It wasn't like an IP that he was borrowing from. It's like, no, this was from his head. And it looked pretty, but the story fell flat, And great, again, great concept. Execution was poor, It probably would have been better as a video game, kind of always kind of thing.
Yeah.
I question if that could be a situation for this because I've been seeing and hearing the same things from everybody, when it comes to this. I haven't really seen much positive about this movie. Part of me also questions, what does the R-rated version have to offer in the summer? Because I think it's July, I want to say, where the R-rated versions of 1 and 2 are supposed to come out.
Don't
Will
get me
that be
started.
better? I don't know.
Don't get me started. Yeah, that I don't understand this. Okay, mini rant here. I don't
All right, all
understand
right.
this. Okay,
And now a rant from Jose.
if you're releasing a movie in the theater, okay, I understand it. Sometimes you might need to cut more out, do a certain pacing. This movie was created for streaming. You have less limitations. How do you create a movie for streaming and don't release your director's cut the first time you go out there? You don't have the restrictions as releasing it in the theater. Then I can understand it. Whatever this director's cut is supposed to make it better, that should have been your first version. Play it if you have to. Why are you releasing a less stellar version when you don't have to, and then saying later on you're going to get the version that's going to make it really good? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It's really illogical. And then watch that happen with part two also when it comes out. If it isn't that good, oh, don't worry. This is a director's cut. Just wait another year and then you'll get the complete full version. No, give it to me the first time. Okay. Don't give me my bowl of rice meat and then say, oh, I'll give you the beans later. No, the beans should be with the food right now. Oh,
I do have an answer for that if it helps.
what?
That was a part of his deal with Netflix. Netflix requested a PG version, like a PG-13 version, and they said that he could have an R-rated version that they'll release later. So he had an R-rated version that was already created, and they were like, well, this is too heavy for what we want to initially release because they want to get more eyes upon that first viewing. And so they're like, well, we want you to do whatever you want to do, but just not on the first one. Come back with your director's cut later, and then you could do whatever you want with that one. So that was his deal, pretty much.
So, so, so Netflix are the idiots
Yes.
on these
Yeah.
things.
It's weird that they would do that because it's just like your Netflix. Like you've released R-rated things before. Why does it matter?
Yeah. So okay, you want to get eyes on a lesser product,
Yeah.
and what if that lesser product turns people off? And now I really don't have a desire to see the director's cut because the first one was such a disappointment. So mean, I might still watch it just because, like, I'm a cinephile and I'm gonna watch a lot of these movies. But the general audience, they see the first one and it's crappy and it feels incomplete and it feels like it has holes in it. You can see what things are pulled out of that movie.
Yeah.
Like you can see it very obviously. Those people might be turned off and they might not check the R-rated one when it does come out. What's supposed to be the better version. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Coming to theaters that same weekend, we have Challengers. I believe this was supposed to come out previously and it was delayed, and then now
Yeah,
we
I think
have
so
this
too.
date.
Because I saw a trailer for this like way earlier,
Yeah,
and
I think it
now
was
it's
supposed
coming
to
out.
come last year. I think the writer's strike delayed it
Yeah.
because they weren't going to be able to advertise for it and things like that. But it's directed by Luca Guadagnino. He did the remake of Suspiria and this movie that I haven't seen, but I heard good things about called Bones and All. This
Yeah.
stars Zendaya, Mike Faust, and Josh O'Connor. The storyline that is you have a former tennis prodigy, which is Zendaya, turned into a coach, is married to a champion who's on a losing streak. She has a plan for his redemption, but that plan ends up with him having to go against his former best friend and also her ex-boyfriend. So very dramatic. So
Yeah.
much drama in that one. What was your thoughts watching this trailer?
In the trailer alone, they suggest that a heavy threesome sex scene happens. And it's always hard for me to see Zendaya in these kind of situations. I know she's almost 30 years old, but I just see someone like who looks like she's 16 still. And so it just feels weird, and I don't know what age they're supposed to be when we see this scene in the trailer, but it's like it feels dirty. Like I feel like I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to be watching. So there's that. But then taking that aside, she is a great actress. She's definitely won me over with the last few roles that she's been taking on with Dune and everything and Euphoria. So with that, I'm kind of interested to see this. Like there seems like there's a bit of manipulation within the story. Like you kind of question like does she really care for either one of these guys now that she's lost her career as a professional tennis player? Is she kind of just using them to stay within that world? And like I don't think either one of these guys is in control of anything that's happening as much as they think they are. They're not. Like she is just a puppeteer working their strings. And I think there could be something, intriguing about that, depending on where it goes.
Yeah, I got that sense too. It's going to be one of those things where they're kind of along for the ride and just kind of going in the directions. I can see it easily where she started with one, saw that that wasn't going to be success, saw the other one having a better chance,
Yeah.
switched to him. So we're probably going to get a lot of that. I mean, it has a good cast. And it looks just from the trailer already, it looks like you're gonna get some strong performances. It's not my normal type of movie, so I probably won't be checking that out in the theater. But I might give it a chance once it's on streaming, just for
Yeah.
the acting itself, because I feel like we're gonna get some really strong acting performances, especially if you have the story, this manipulation story, where probably some hearts are gonna be broken, some people are gonna be betrayed. We're probably gonna get some really powerful performances.
Yeah.
So that alone, I might check it out when it's on streaming.
Yeah. It kind of gave me almost like Match Point vibes with Jonathan Rhys
Yes.
Meyers, that Woody Allen film. I kind of got that from it.
Going back over to TV shows, we have on the 26th to Paramount, we have Knuckles. This is starring Idris Elba as Knuckles. We have Kid Cudi, Ben Schwartz, Adam Pally, Tika Sumpter. For anyone who's watched the Sonic movies, this takes place after the last Sonic movie. And the general concept is just kind of Knuckles now trying to get used to life on Earth. This is a warrior at heart who's now on Earth and has that itch to be a warrior, and how that plays out in this kind of probably continuing the whole fish out of water
Yeah.
concept that they had in the last Sonic. So, what were your thoughts on this one?
I've actually watched both Sonic movies, and god damn it, they're entertaining as hell. They should not work whatsoever, but they do. They're honestly really fun movies. And so I'm interested in the series. I actually question if they should have made a series because it's like, well, why don't you just make a movie then for Knuckles? I think people will go watch it. He's definitely a very much a fan favorite. I love Knuckles. There are aspects of it that I'm not too keen on because it feels like they are just retreading kind of like points that the movies already did with Sonic, which is like his relationship with this new guy. Whoever this new guy is, like he's got now his own James Marsden per se
Yeah.
that he has to like just mess with, you know. But I think because he's such a strong-headed character, I don't see this guy, whoever this guy is, keeping up with him the way Marsden did with Sonic. Like Marsden was his own force, where like he wasn't always going to be the punchline of a joke. Well, I feel like whoever this other human is, he will be. And it's just like he's just along for the ride of whatever Knuckles has going on.
Yeah, I think that the relationship is definitely going to be a little bit different, like you said, with Marston. I think with this one, Knuckles is going to be training him to be a warrior.
Right? Yeah.
So it's more like master and student aspect of it. It looks like it's gonna be funny overall. I did also watch both Sonics and I did enjoy them. I may have watched them multiple times and still
Yeah.
enjoyed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I did like the iteration of Knuckles that they did in the last one, and it's Idris Elba. Like you
Yeah.
can't go wrong with Idris Elba. If Idris Elba's in it, I'm probably going to be watching it. He's, you know,
Even his voice can
so
carry it. Yeah.
exactly, and it looks funny. Just the trailer alone, it had me laughing with the little custom like gladiator fights that he was
Yeah.
setting up with like the dog and the mailman and everything. So I feel like if they you know, keep it to the same tone and quality as the movies, it could be another hit from them. Now, moving over to the movies, we have the last two movies that are coming out for that month. The first one we have, this one is theater and Shutter. It's coming to theaters on the 26th, but then that next week you can find it on Shutter. And it's called Humane. This is directed by Caitlin Cronenberg, who is the daughter of David Cronenberg. This stars Sebastian Chacon, Emily Hampshire, and Peter Gallagher, amongst others. The storyline: if you have a global environmental collapse, forces world leaders to take extreme measures to reduce Earth's population. This movie itself, it seems to revolve around one specific family, and the concept, I guess, is, you know, people have to volunteer to be taken out to reduce the world population, and that means like every family, maybe depending on their size, will have to sacrifice one to two, or they have not sacrifice, they have to volunteer
Yeah.
people. And we seem to be following one family who now it's their turn to have two people volunteer for the greater good. But when I first saw the trailer and the concept, it kind of loosely reminded me of Knock on the Cabin,
Okay.
where someone, or in this case, someone's need to be chosen to die for the greater good of the earth that's heading to destruction. So in that element, it kind of reminded me of that concept. This one might play it a little more, maybe towards, um, maybe a little more light than what we saw on Knock at the Cabin, and also less biblical
Yeah.
and more just scientific issues that are going on the earth. I'll give it a try. I'll probably wait the week and watch it on Shutter, just because my Shutter kind of collects dust there because they barely get any content.
Yeah.
So, just to dust off my Shutter, I'll probably wait a week and watch it on that. What are your thoughts?
This definitely looks like something I'm gonna watch at home. Like I don't know if I'll go to the theater to watch it, but it looks entertaining. Jay Baruchel's also in it, and I feel like he's got great like dorky comedic timing with his kind of stuff. So I think that kind of caught my interest a bit. Just the idea that the from the trailer you see that the father and mother volunteer themselves, and then last minute the mom's like, "Nah, I'm good," and she bounces. And so now like the guys are there, they're here, and there's like, well, we're here to collect two. We need a second. All right, Papa's going. One of you four children has to be the one now. And I say children, but they're all adults. They're all grown
Yeah.
adults. And it looks like one of them probably has a kid who isn't on the chopping block, because at one point you see her with the guy who is leading this little thing, and it kind know what it made me think of, like the Joker scene in The Dark Knight with like the pool cue. They don't show a
Yeah,
pool cue
yeah.
be there, but you just see like them all with like a knife, and it's just like, all right, which one of them is gonna go? It's just like almost Abel and Cain or whatever you want to compare it to. It's like this four brother sister situation. It's like, well, I don't want to die, so it got to be someone else. Like I got a life to live. I'm sorry. So that, like you said, there's gonna be that humor there of just like trying to like one up on each other and not be the one who gets taken out. I easily see it being though, like all four of them can end up dying, and they just over exceed their quota of the two that they were looking for. I can easily see the dad not even dying. I think the dad's gonna live, and the four of them are just gonna die. And he's like, "Well, I guess I'll continue living then."
It's like taking sibling fighting to a whole other level.
Yeah, right. It's like I held a knife to
It,
my brother's throat, but I never killed him.
yeah. So it looks like it's going to be entertaining. So it's definitely worth giving it a try. Simple concept again. It seems like it's probably going to be all in one location,
Yeah,
taking place in the house. And then it's also, this seems like a well-off family. So these grown-up children are probably going to be heavily spoiled. So try to tell heavily spoiled adult that they have to volunteer to lose everything.
yeah,
So should make some interesting dynamics.
yeah. And I think as the audience, we won't be shedding any tears for any of them.
Coming out that weekend to the theaters, we have what I consider the wild card of the month. And that is
Yeah,
Boy Kills World. This is directed by Mortitz Moyer, Omar, Mohr, Moore. We'll go
yeah,
more.
more, yeah,
Yeah, the H is silent to me.
more
We'll go
tits,
more.
more. That's a great name.
Mortitz Moore.
Uh,
That on the license plate. Uh,
uh,
this stars Bill Skarsgård, Andrew Koji, Jessica Roth, Famke Janssen. Storyline: if you have a deaf person called Boy, who has someone else's inner voice, this character that he saw, I think it was on TV. He liked it, and now he adopted that as his inner monologue and the voice he hears in his head. And it is a very familiar voice from
yeah.
Archer and Bob's Burger, and also the pigeon in those new insurance commercials that they have on TV. So very
Okay.
familiar voice. So it's a good voice to have in your head. Someone who has put on some good voice acting performances, usually in the comedic side of things. So I am curious how that's going to play out. But anyway, this boy is trained as an instrument of death after his family is murdered. So kind of like Monkey Man at the beginning. This is another movie about revenge, except it's a deaf person who has someone else's voice in their
Yeah.
head.
He's deaf and mute, I believe. That's why we never hear him talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct. Not gonna lie, George. This looks like a rush of a movie. It looks like it's gonna be a
Yes.
rush.
Yeah.
Very different from what we've seen the Bill Skarsgård do before. Because even in an action movie like John Wick, how much action did we really see from him?
Oh no, he was
Here,
this guy. He may have been a guy at a table. That's all he was. Like we didn't see
eh,
anything from him.
exactly. So here, this seems like a very physical role. He seems to
Yeah.
have gotten into tip-top shape. It looks like the action's gonna be good. The way it's filmed, it's not like cartoony is what comes to mind, but not in
Yeah.
a bad way at all. It looks very zany. That's the word I want to take.
Yes.
It looks like
Yes.
a zany movie, but in a good way. And when zany hits, it hits, and it can be like one of those movies you kind of revisit for fun. But if zany doesn't hit, it can really doom a movie. That's why I call it a wild card because it can
Yeah.
go either way. I feel it's gonna be one of those just sit back and enjoy the ridiculous ride and everything it has to offer. Don't try to overthink it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, here's some extra things that you left out. So there's like this rich family who has an organized like hunting fighting thing where they get to kill people. But the only way they can have this is by having being sponsored, and the sponsors are cereals. So imagine if like Fruit Loops sponsored a death match. That's what this is. So you'll have like cereal mascots just taking out people. So
Oh,
there's that
damn.
aspect where that just adds to, like you said, the zaniness. It's just so odd of a freaking concept. It makes no sense at all. It makes me think of like Guns Akimbo for Daniel Radcliffe. Like this feels like
Oh,
his Guns
yes.
Akimbo, you know. And I'm so excited for this. I love Andrew Koji. See him in the show Warrior. I want to see more of this guy. When I saw him in the trailer, I was because I just finished watching Warrior for like the umpteenth time. So I was like, yeah, give me more Andrew Koji. All right. And if I'm correct, I want to say I saw the guy from the raid, not the main guy, but the bad guy that he fights with the long hair and the knives. I think he's in this
Oh,
too.
okay. I might
He
have
might be
missed.
the guy who trains Boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So there's a lot of little elements in there. Like in the trailer, it's so quick, but they're in it. I think Charlotte Copley's in it, another great character actor. There's these little things where it's like, oh, I like that guy. Ooh, that guy's really cool. Is there something really good here, possibly? And like you said, having the voice of Archer as his inner monologue is gonna be freaking amazing. I'm so down for that.
I at least I want him to about to get into a fight and his inner monologue just be like, "We're entering the danger zone."
Yeah.
Lana. 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 Lana!
What? Danger zone.
At least one. I didn't realize that serial aspect. I'm like that should such a zany like aspect of it. I think would be good. But I think people should probably keep their kids away from the tricks sponsored fighting. Uh, no adults allowed in that one.
Yeah.
Uh, so I I really want this to do well and to be good because it looks like it can again be such a fun ride, such a rush of a movie. Like I think out of all the ones that are coming out this month, uh it's Monkey Man, Civil War, and Boy Kills World for me. Those are the three that I'm anticipating the most out of all the movies. What are you anticipating the most?
You may have hit my top three. I think those are the three that I'm anticipating and I'm hoping they work. The one I feel that could be almost a guaranteed I'm gonna like it is Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That's not a word to say. Uh, like I think I'm almost guaranteed that's gonna be good. Like I haven't seen too many Guy Ritchie films that weren't entertaining. Like sure, King Arthur would kind of lacked a little bit, but you're gonna have one that's a slump, right? As you have a whole filmography that he's had over the years. That looks like a guarantee. But the other ones, I'm like, please, please be as good as you look in that trailer because those trailers they're selling me. I'm so sold on these things.
Either way, I feel this is gonna be a month where my AMC pass is gonna get a little worn out.
Yeah.
For that month, I'm definitely gonna be using it. All right, well, those are the some of the main movies and TV shows that are coming out this month. I'm sure there are some that we might have missed. Feel free to tell us down below in the comments if there's anything that we missed that you're looking forward to watching, or if you agree with our thoughts on the ones that are coming out. What are your most anticipated movies and TV shows, if any, and which ones do you think are maybe not going to do that well? And thank you for joining us for another month of Stay Tuned. We deliver this every month where we look into the movies and do the research for things coming out so you don't have to. So make sure you tune in next month for May's edition of Stay Tuned. I am your host for this episode, Jose. You can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
I am not your host, George, and you can follow me at Nicolapolis.